I haven't seen this video, but
I
know he's gonna cover it.
Meta has their priorities way wrong. They really don't give a crap. So this situation is a whole lot scummier than I originally thought. Last video, we talked about Meta out of nowhere completely shutting down one of the most popular VR games out there. And in that video, I honestly was pretty mad, something that doesn't happen very often. I'm not an angry person. And to be real, I'm not even in the Echo community. I don't have thousands of hours in Echo VR. I've never even heard of it. I care about the game. I think it should be preserved. But what's really hitting me right now and is making me feel more than anything else is seeing the Echo community just so gutted after having their game ripped from them. And there's nothing they can do about it. It really feels like the company that we're all attached to, whether you like it or not. You know, one of the only real drivers in the VR industry is just abandoning a huge part of its core community. And that hurts, whether you care about Echo or not. And I really think Meta is making a big mistake. So I wanted answers. Why is this happening? Why kill a game with tens of thousands of active users? And is this really how Meta is going to operate?
Because that's just Facebook in a nutshell, baby. Well, that's just Meta in a nutshell, baby. Fuck everyone, fuck everything. We're just gonna lose money and you can't stop us. That's the whole game plan. Yeah, the game's basically blitzball in space.
And well, I think I have just about all of the answers, and you're probably not gonna like them. But I will say that there's a very real chance we can save Echo VR and send Meta a message. But let's start from the top. Player 01. I think it's really important to acknowledge a massive internal change that happened at Meta recently. John Carmack has been the CTO, or at least consulting CTO, of Oculus for the past 10 years. He's been instrumental in everything that Oculus has done since its inception. And well, as you know, just 2 months ago, he left that position.
I actually didn't know that.
Basically took over as CTO of all of Meta mid last year. And well, Carmack no longer having a say in the VR side of things has pretty obviously completely changed the philosophy of how Meta handles VR. And I think it's pretty easy to see exactly why. Swapping chief technology officers of a future technology company, even if Carmack wasn't full-time, is almost like a company brain transplant. On one hand, Carmack comes from a pretty
which is one of the big problems that Halo Infinite faced, because they kept losing some upper level, like, senior project leads. So every time they got replaced, the whole vision started to change, and everything kept getting muddier and muddier and muddier, and then you get the absolute fucking mess that Halo Infinite became. That's why making those kind of massive swaps in the middle of projects is always a fucking disaster.
Legendary background of being a gamer and game designer. His takes are not always perfect, but his core beliefs generally align far closer with pro-consumer and pro-gamer.
Yeah, he's been in the industry for so long, of course they would.
He is the reason why we have gotten so many extra features on the Quest 2, like 120 Hz, for example. And Bosworth, on the other hand, is cut from totally different cloth. He's been at Facebook since 2006, and he made his claim to fame within the company, making Facebook money as the vice president of ads. That's right.
Hey, what a great fit for gaming. That sounds amazing. Let's take the vice president of ads and put him on the gaming space. That's just a seamless fit. Fuck yeah. That's the boss, baby. Why the hell would he be put on the gaming space? What do you mean? Gaming is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Taking a guy who's all about just making money off like ads and shit, trying to monetize the gaming space, 100%. That's why they put him there. Plus, Meta lost like fucking, Jesus, what was it, like hundreds of billions of dollars or something in valuation over the last year. They're desperate, so they're gonna sick the Boz on the metaverse, on the gaming space.
Right, essentially, Boz is the father of mobile Facebook ads, and now this is the guy in charge of VR. We had a gaming legend, and now we have the legend of advertisements in charge of VR. And as
but look how cool he is,
and sick as that is, it's not a joke. This is the state of Meta and their VR department right now. And I want you to think of that as we get into this AMA he just posted on Instagram, where he explains exactly why Echo VR is getting shut down.
So what happened here? It just dwindled. You know, the user base is small. It's loyal as all get out, but it's small. It's measured in, you know, the low 10,000s. Those resources could be put to other uses that I think will be useful to the now tens of millions of people who are in VR And at some point, you have to make those choices.
So,
The tens of millions of people in VR, I can assure you, are not in the metaverse. Brother, that place is barren and empty. That place is like every 16-year-old outcast's birthday party. There is nobody in there. So yeah, there is a lot of VR users these days, and I'll tell you where they're not. The fucking metaverse. They're on like Gorilla Tag and shit like that. Yeah, I know, him calling 10K small obviously just shows how delusional he is when it comes to like player-based numbers, because this is an ad space guy. 10,000 people is nothing to him when he's working with like Facebook mobile ads and shit. That is barely a blip on the radar. That is a completely meaningless number to him. So he can't really separate that number in the ad space to the gaming space. Because a 10K, and I think it was, I imagine it was more than 10K. But even just a 10K user base on a multiplayer VR game is pretty fucking good. That's a strong community.
That's out of the bag. It's not a money thing. It turns out that Meta and Ready at Dawn have decided that it isn't worth the effort and development resources it would take to keep Echo VR alive. Or as Boz says, it's not worth the human capital, which is a very non-human way to refer to talent.
That's such a
Sad, because these
Facebook
things
way
are meant to
of
be
saying
people. They
shit.
had real value and purpose, and they had intention, and they brought people together, and that's what we're trying to do as a macro thing. But I do need to think about return on investment. And I'm not talking about money back to Meta. I'm not talking about trying to make money. I'm talking
That's good, because Meta doesn't make money. And you know who's not going to solve that problem? Goofball Boz. So I'm glad that's not on the priority list, because that shit is not happening.
about the return on the human capital, the people that could be doing something that's going to affect millions of people, but instead they're trying to keep something alive that affects 10,000s of people. I love how deeply it affected those people, but I just got to make those calls. It's part of my job.
His job is legitimately to be hated. This guy has done nothing that people appreciate except for soulless corporate suits. This guy is a fucking chronic loser. He is an ad space guru. He pumps ads to kids on Facebook and now shuts down games that people like. This guy's entire position is to just be disliked. To be an unlikable heel. What a fate. What a fucking fate. Corpo slime. I mean, pretty fucking much, man. Yeah.
Ooh, Boz, you can talk about how you want to make things that affect millions of people in VR, but frankly, Meta has never made anything even close to that scale that people want to use in VR.
True,
Anything
super
and
true.
everything even close to successful that Meta has ever done in VR has just been an acquisition. And anytime you've acquired something, that core product actually gets worse. And this is the best example of that. You say Echo has diminished in users, but beyond cosmetic paid DLC, the game hasn't really been updated at all since it came to the Quest 3 years ago. And half the game,
I didn't know it was
in my
that old.
opinion, the better half of the game, Echo Combat, just never came to the Quest at all. It's stuck on PC for no reason. And at this point, it's honestly impressive that Echo still has a community as large as it does at all. But
So is Echo, did they still have a component elsewhere off of the Boz domain to give sub DTS? So you can still play Echo VR, just not this version of it? Oh, because they haven't taken it down yet. Oh, okay. I'm talking about when they take it down. Are they affecting the one that is outside of the Quest? Like, are they taking the one that is on PC? Does the whole thing come down? Like the PC one comes down too? Yeah, because they're shutting off all the servers. Got it. Okay. Okay, gotcha.
now you say you want to make applications that affect millions of people? Well, you know, I think a pretty good way to get there is to start with the formula that has already deeply affected the tens of thousands first. Then you can iterate on that formula, make that community feel good, bring things that are additive, bring updates. Then eventually you build up to get to millions through organic growth. That's how you get people to actually want to use VR. But you wouldn't know anything
Watching
about
this game
this
reminds
because
me
you've
of
never
watching
done
that
that
underwater
before, and don't even
water
try
hockey.
to wave Horizon around. The only reason you've gotten so many members for Horizon is because you've strong-armed every single Quest user to sign up for the service. You force them. That's not how organic, strong communities are built. And in Echo's case, you're just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So, there's no doubt going to be people that think I may be being ridiculous for
Thinks
making
you should brand it
videos
the
on
Prime
this,
Log.
or that I'm blowing things out of proportion. And you know what? For some people, I'm sure that's true. Some people really don't care and they'll just bend over and take it from any corporation that'll give it to them. But really, why do I even care? It's just a game.
I will say though, as far as corporations go, I think Meta has the least amount of meat swallowers in the world. Their machine learning development is actually really important for some developer stuff, but that's low level. Is that one of the acquisitions they made? Some kind of machine learning company?
And play all the time. But here are the two big things that really bother me. One is that I worry that VR gaming in the future is just going to slip down this gross, borderline illegal bottom barrel of the gaming industry, games as a service model for everything. And that Echo VR is just the beginning and Meta is leading the way. This games model is literally the worst in all of gaming, and I don't want it to super infect VR. But the second thing is that it really doesn't have to be this way. We are just so close to not having to deal with these issues. In fact, this is so true that Mr. Adman and John Carmack both agreed that Echo VR would be alive if it was Carmack's decision.
John would not have shut down Echo VR.
And that's what bothers me. We're this close and there are so many things Meta could do. Here's from John Carmack, quote, "Even though there are only 10,000 active users, destroying that user value should be avoided if possible. Your company suffers more harm when you take away something dear to a user than you gain and benefit by providing something equally valuable to them or others," end quote. He then goes off to give multiple solutions that they could have done, like just dropping to absolute minimum support, putting a single developer on the project, or spinning off the project entirely, letting a developer take it outside of Meta, something that other companies do pretty often, or open sourcing it, something that they certainly will not do. But instead, the worst case scenario is going to happen. Echo is going to become lost media, completely inaccessible beyond August 1st, and it didn't have to be this way. Meta is just too lazy and they don't care enough to do the absolute bare minimum for one of its most passionate communities. In case you're wondering why I'm so riled up and why you should care about this, is because this is just the first domino. This is
I mean, honestly, it's far from the first. What was... I'm gonna blank on the actual good game that had this happen, but an example off top of mind is The Culling 2. No one played that game, to be fair. They made the right decision taking it down, but you don't own your games. At any moment, they can just take that shit away. No matter what game, no matter what community you spawn from, it doesn't matter. At any moment, it just goes away. Entirely up to them. Like, it's not like this is a new trend. It might be new to VR. That's possible. But if they're just like, yeah, we don't really want to support this anymore, it's just coming down forever. Yeah, you buy access to a game for a brief period of time until they finally deem it no longer financially viable, and then bye-bye. You do not own your shit. That's the digital world. Yeah, it's basically just completely, like, just trust, like, hey, you're not going to just, like, take this down, or you're not going to, like, take away my access to my Steam account, right? It's like, no, we won't do that. Because, I mean, like, the second you lose access to your Steam account, your games are gone. You don't own them. Steam does. EA just did that with Apex Mobile. They brought the game down along with all microtransactions that the players bought with it. Yeah, that one's super fucked. No refunds for that either. And that's a great example that just fucking happened. That one is literally days old. They took money from people for cosmetics right up until they announced it was going to be shut off. Scummy. That's just so trash. Pirating is full of virus, Trojan, password, etc. It's a whole toxic economy you don't want. Well, I mean, yeah, piracy obviously comes with its set of risks, but it's 2023. I imagine most people are knowledgeable on torrenting safely. And I don't know why companies don't realize that. The second you make it more of a hassle to, like, pay for a game, they're just going to go right to piracy. And in a lot of cases, they get a more complete product. Some of the, like, DRM they use makes the games run worse than if you had just pirated them. So you're paying for a worse service than if you had just fucking pirated, in some cases. So, I don't know why companies just don't realize that yet. They are the ones that are about to create the next wave of piracy. There's definitely still a fighting chance to save Echo. So does ThrillSeeker do a call to action here? Because I don't really know how you save it beyond making a big stink online, and normally I'd say that does have a chance, but with Meta, I just don't think they give a fuck. I really don't.
Gonna keep happening, and it's gonna get worse and worse and worse. That's why I'm trying to stand up now. And if you don't do it in 2 or 3 years, you're gonna wish you did, because you give them an inch and they'll take a mile. Okay, tangent over. As promised, there is actually a really good chance at saving Echo VR. This sort of goes against the end user license agreement, but honestly, I read through the EULA, and depending on where you live, this document is borderline gray area illegal anyways. It's one of those BS, you don't own the game, we just give you you a license to use it things, which
Yep.
would never hold up. And by the way, this even goes for Lone Echo, the single player part
I don't know,
of the
that
game.
might hold up.
If you bought that game, well, according to this EULA, you don't even own a copy of it. But anyways, saving Echo. Meta has made their decision that they're not going to put any extra effort into preserving Echo. So we're gonna have to do it ourselves. Luckily, we have a savior. Someone out there has created a functional mod loader for Echo VR called the Vega mod loader. This has been used specifically in the past for professional Echo tournaments, mainly to change the server to play in a LAN environment. And
those are
of
kind of
course,
crazy
also make
setup
some
here.
other adjustments with the Vega patch. But this mod loader has been completely closed source, with a good reason, mostly to make sure that cheating within Echo was not a thing through the mod loader. And well, the creator of the Vega mod loader, Alden101, is going to make this entirely open source as soon as the servers go down, allowing anyone to mod Echo VR, Lone Echo, and Lone Echo 2 to do literally whatever you want with it. Add content, maps, change the rules,
But you absolutely
eventually
can't play it with
maybe
others.
change the servers. We don't need peer-to-peer, we don't need open sourcing. All we need is either for Meta to provide the decrypted server information so that the community can create emulated servers, or the community is going to eventually reverse engineer the servers. Whether that takes months or years to do, which it could take years, they're going to do it. So if they're
Yeah, they absolutely can do it. Like they absolutely could do that. And what would happen is Meta would sue them. It'd be a cease and desist if they keep going. That is exactly what happened initially with City of Heroes, and they ended up running private servers in secrecy for like 8 years, which was in a very big legal gray area. I really do hope that they don't do that, because there's absolutely no harm in having the private servers. It doesn't hurt Meta's bottom line, or it does nothing to Meta's bottom line. It does nothing to their company. That it is completely a victimless thing to just have private servers of Echo VR persist. But these companies are fucking cutthroat, and I feel like Meta is definitely going to be one of the worst ones for it. 2 more Echo LAN events are this year, spending over 200k combined, put on by the community members and leagues, but we can't get Meta to put the same money into the game. Well, that I'm not surprised about at all. They don't care about the game. So they're saying your player base is small when you're over 10k on a 3-year-old game. So they clearly just don't get it. They're not knowledgeable in the space. So of course they're not going to be spending $200,000 on anything related to Echo VR. But you would hope that they'd at least keep it live, or at the very least let the community take it private.
There is one thing that Meta could do, and this is the targeted message that we need to request from Meta. Do the bare minimum to keep this community alive. Give the packet to the community to give them the ability to emulate servers. That is all we need. They've got the mod loader, give them the ability to emulate the servers. And Echo can live on forever, just like it should, in the same energy as Quake or Halo custom servers or the original Dota mods. We can do it. This is a totally possible thing. All Meta has to do is the bare minimum. Oh man. So this was a very emotional string of videos. There's anger and sadness and just this whole mix of feelings. But we've finally reached the conclusion of this 2-parter. And I gotta say, I am so excited to go work on some hardware videos now that aren't so loaded. But I also hope that you guys got to see a little bit behind what's going on at Meta right now.
Hey, I got more reasons to hate Meta.
They're just a company making VR stuff,
love that.
and they're doing a lot for the industry, but they're also fumbling over and over again and making kind of evil decisions. And I only make these videos because Meta is always so close to doing the right thing, to doing the thing that people want, but they keep making these terrible decisions, and it's like you love something so much that you're more critical about it because you care. And that's just where I'm at right now, and I hope y'all understand. I'm not trying to be melodramatic, but when I see folks in the VR community literally get trampled on, man, it really riles me up and it feels terrible. But at least know, even if I'm a little melodramatic, I always got your back. But until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought below. Much love, Thrill out.
That was good. That was an extremely informative look at exactly what was going on. I had a baseline understanding of what was happening, but this was a lot deeper into it.